Hello everyone, welcome to our Module 2, or the second week of the semester. So this week we are going to be continuing with this first major writing project, talking about the autoethnographic research project. So I'm going to open this right here. We've already discussed this project. Hopefully you've already read this and you've watched the video and you've discussed it a little bit in our first week. But I want to remind you that you are the researcher in this project. You are not the main subject. You are looking at the behavior of the members of one of your personal communities, and you are observing their behavior. You're looking for a pattern of behavior that's meaningful. And if it repeats, if it happens over and over again among different people, then it is meaningful, and then it's our job to figure out why it's meaningful. And so keep that in mind and read over this again. Let me know if you have any questions, but that's important. The first thing we're going to do then is to pick a community of people that we are going to observe for this research project. And I have here a little bit more of a discussion of what is meant by community. Remember, this community is just a group of people, but it has to be a distinct group of people for a research project to be meaningful. We can't obviously observe, and when I say observe, a lot of that's going to be through memory in this situation, but we can observe everyone we have ever known, and we can't observe and make meaningful claims about behaviors across a lot of different people. It's much more meaningful to pick a small, finite group of people, and by community, I mean that there are people within that community and there are people outside of that community. There's people inside who know kind of the cultural norms of that community, the language, the jargon, the inside jokes, the patterns, of behavior and all of that. And then there's those on the outside who don't. Like, for instance, your family. Okay, we have specific traditions, specific ways of doing things, specific types of knowledge that we have within our family that other people may not share outside of that family. So your community, it doesn't have to be anything elaborate, anything exciting, really. It just has to be a specific group of people. And so it can be, everyone, the Latino people, it can't be everyone who lives in the United States, because obviously those groups are far too big. You don't know everybody in those groups. So this community is going to be a group of people that you know, that you can name, that you interact with, whether face-to-face or whether virtual. It can be a virtual club or a virtual chat room or gaming community, but it's going to be a community that you can observe the behavior because you are the researcher. You are looking at behavior that's happening among the other people. Now you can experience that behavior also. It can affect you also, but you have to write about how it affects you, but also how it affects other people for it to be meaningful. And so choosing that community is going to be one of the first things that we need to do. So here's a little bit of examples of community and a little bit of discussion of what can constitute a community. Also, in my face-to-face classes, we have a lot of brainstorming activities where we just list a bunch of the communities that we belong to. And I thought you might like to see some of the ideas that we generate in our classrooms, in our face-to-face classrooms. And so here's some of them. There's a couple pages here of different communities that my in-person classes have shared, have discussed. So let me go back out here to the modules so I don't lose track of where I am. Let me get back down to 2. And so we have those 2 kind of helps, something that will springboard ideas. You do not have to pick one of these communities. It's just something that will help you generate ideas, because we're going to have to pick a community this week. So as far as our assignments this week, our assignments are going to be, first of all, it's going to be an activity that will help us start thinking about the societal relevance or the meaning of the actually really common behaviors that we see every day. There's always complex connections and relevance and significance to everything we do. And so our first activity is going to help us do that. And the second activity is going to be where we annotate and discuss an example of autoethnographic writing, and also share with me your community choice so I can give you some feedback. So the first thing is going to be a discussion board. And the first post, oh, let me stretch this over. The first thing that we're going to do is, read this over, and it's just a little introduction about the significance of our everyday actions and how they carry just a boatload of meaning and complexity and societal impact. And so for the initial post, I want you to pick an experience you've had over the last week, last 24 hours, 48 hours, that you can describe. And this experience, and remember, it's one experience, so it's not going to be a span of a day or a week. It's going to be one experience that you can describe as if you're writing a story. So you'll describe the setting and the action, what happened during that experience, and maybe how you felt about it. And that's it. It can be 150 words, and honestly, the more boring, the more mundane experience, the better. Because then, in the responses, you're going to respond to at least 2 of your classmates' posts, and you're going to read their story, and you're going to explore the social significance of that experience they described. Why is it meaningful? Why does it demonstrate a pattern that you see or a commonality that you see among people across our society, right? How does society impact? How is that action kind of a result of society? How does it impact society? You're just going to explore the connections. And I have some examples here of my own mundane, boring existence experiences. So playing with my dog, cooking Sunday dinner, organizing my office. So those are all very kind of boring, everyday, mundane things that I do. Yet again, there's social significance. That means it matters to society, or society has impacted it in some way. And so if I was going to respond to these experiences, maybe I could write something about how, pets are they're signs of economic class, as well as markers of identity. And research also shows that having pets improves mental health, that they're also a privilege of being able to have a pet. And it's also maybe a performance of, like a public performance of being a good citizen when we're out there walking our dog. So those are just some of the ideas that we can choose. Also cooking Sunday dinner. If I was going to respond to that, I'd say, as a woman, how does tradition, how does society impact gender roles? And what is expected from different members of a family? Also, how do rituals and traditions like a Sunday dinner, how do they impact family? As far as organizing my office, we judge. How have we been taught to measure professionalism? How have we been taught by society to act like a professional, to show that we are professional? Also, how does our organizational skills impact society? How does it impact our own feelings of organization and empowerment? Just explore all of the different layers of relevance to those boring activities. And so once we do that, we'll kind of get an idea of, the complexity, how to dig a little bit deeper. And so this last thing that we're going to be doing this week is another annotation exercise. And so we've already practiced this with our first writing project, but I'm going to enlarge this. This is an article, a short essay that was published in BuzzFeed by Lillian Rivera, and it's a fantastic kind of a personal essay, but it is autoethnographic. And in this autoethnographic essay, she is writing about her community of her family, her extended Puerto Rican family. And the behavior that she has recognized is a behavior that involves colorism and being prejudiced towards different people in their own family. And so read this over, use these tools, goodness, there they are right over there. Use these tools to annotate and highlight things that are meaningful. I'm going to go ahead and make this smaller. And I'm asking you to include at least 2 highlights and 2 marginal notes per page. And especially look for these kind of details, because this is the exact type of writing that we're going to be engaged in our autoethnographic essay. Also, and this is important, this is going to be worth half of the points, at the end, use like this tool right here, or a marginal note and share with me the community that you have chosen that you will examine the behavior of. And remember, this is going to be a very specific group of people. It's not going to be a large, ethnic group or a large community. It's going to be a personal community where you know the people, where you can, basically name them, or at least you have seen them face to face or virtually. And you're going to share with me that community so I can give you some feedback, so I can make sure that you're set up for success by picking the right community. Okay, now I think that is all for this week. Let me double check. Yes, I am going to leave. Yep, and then we get into the next week. So let me know if you have any questions. Have a great week.